Hey guys, I'll just give you a small brief about Niyati. So when I joined my job as an investment banker in IIFL, right, I think Niyati was my first friend at that point. And also we were very like-minded people at that point compared to everyone else. But yeah, so she used to help me a lot because I used to be very, very bad at understanding most of the basic concepts, and Niyati used to take the time out to actually help me and make me understand everything else. So I thank her for that. But she's been in the space more than me. She's continuing. She's still in the capital market space itself, so she's an expert in that. So today we're going to talk a little about the industry. We're going to talk about what investment banking is, what the industry looks like from the inside, and what is Niyati doing and what does she cover. And then in the end, we'll take a few questions. Now, this is only a 45-minute session because both of us have an engagement after this. So yeah, Niyati, I think, can you give a small, quick introduction about yourself?
Well, sure. Thank you and you're being really humble, Shashank. Thank you for that intro. Hello everyone. A quick brief about myself. I have academically, I'm a chartered accountant, and post that, like many of us, I was very excited about IB as a role. And I started my career with Morgan Stanley into their investment banking team, post which to get a closer glance and work very closely with. Sorry. Am I audible?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So to get a glance of Indian markets and understand them closely, I joined IIFL after spending roughly 3 years with Morgan Stanley, where I met Shashank, and we did some exciting transactions together. Post which, so this gave me a total, this is like completely 5-6 years of a lot of investment banking on the equity side. Post that, I was very excited to understand how structured debt work, the IB side on specifically on the debt side, and which is why I've moved to Northern Arc Capital now, where we do a lot of structured debt. So IB on the equity side, first 5 years of my career, IB on the debt side is what I'm doing from last 2.5, 3 years. So yeah, that's briefly my career so far, around 7-8 years of investment banking experience covering the whole gambit of equity and debt side.
So yeah. What made you choose investment banking in the start when you were working with Morgan Stanley? Was it by chance, or how was that journey that you got into investment banking?
When I completed my CA, I was very specific that finance excites me. So IB is all about finance. It's got nothing to do with tax and audit. So I was very clear that I like numbers and I want to evaluate entities, kind of go to the depth of. So I literally, one thing that I was always curious as a child also is about macroeconomics. Having a brief about macroeconomics, understanding and trying to evaluate entities is something that I always wanted to do. So that was the keen interest that I had since initial days, which is why I picked up IB. So yeah, I think the way it started, and I had like absolute clarity why I wanted to do IB was I knew I didn't want to do tax and audit. So the only good option that I was left with, and also, since childhood, like I've read few books on IB, and it's always been a fascinating space for me. And in the hindsight, I'm very happy with the choices that I've made. So
yeah, I think this I can relate, right? Because when you're looking for a job after you've completed your finance, the most common job you will see is tax audit by PwC or some other company, right? It's usually some tax audit role or some normal tax role, which is always there. And these guys hire hire in bulk kind of a system. So it's a lot of roles. So IB is very niche. Now, okay, so there's this thing in the market where a lot of people think getting into IB is very difficult, right? And there are some firms that make it almost impossible to get in, like say Avendus and stuff like that. But if you're a fresher, what would you advise some fresher as to a path to say getting into IB? If someone is passionate about IB like you, and they're just a fresher or still in college, what would you tell them to plan right now to get into IB?
It's not a wrong notion. Ideally, it is difficult to get into IB as a fresher unless you're a tier 1 MBA or you have some internship experience with an IB. So I think if you are enthusiastic about getting a career in the IB space, I think in the early stage, what you really need to do is be very abreast of what things are happening around, read a lot of newspaper, probably be very well versed with the transactions that are happening in the current space, keep a track of deals that are happening, because obviously there's always a need that there is a huge number of juniors that are required in this space as well, and a lot of them are freshers. So even with a very humble academic, you can be a fresher and you can join an IB career if you are quite aware of things happening around. You can do few courses along with your general academic things, like do a financial modeling course, learn on modeling, read about valuations, understand what is a few methods like DCM and how evaluation flows down, to see what are multiples that are working for various sectors. Firstly, I think a right way to do about is if you can identify a couple of sectors that you're very keen on. I think Shashank was very interested in the crypto space and the tech space in his early years. So I think that's how he made through at IIFL, as far as I remember. Shashank, you can add to this. So yeah, similarly for me, I was very excited about BFSI space, and today I've made my career in the BFSI space. So I've done IB on the equity side in banking and financial services, and currently IB on the debt side is also on the on-lending space. So identify a couple of sectors that you're really keen on. Could be anything, could be telecommunication, could be textiles. If at all, you can boil down to a couple of sectors, or else you can always be sector agnostic. But understanding the basics of how to evaluate the entity and where your interest lies, and then keep reading more on those aspects. Be well aware about transactions that are happening around, so that you have a lot of strong, concrete content to speak when you actually get that opportunity to meet someone senior in the IB space.
Yeah, I think extremely true, because what Niyati mentioned, right? That either you can be sector agnostic where you're looking at everything and anything, right? But it's always good to focus on one industry first, or two industries. Pick out two industries that you feel passionate about and you like it. Focus a lot on what deals are happening there and how those deals have been structured, because there's very complications when it comes to deal structuring, right? And it's very important to read about the market that you're actually tracking. And it's super important because, I keep telling these guys as well, read the newspaper. I don't know how many people actually do it, but the tremendous value that you get by reading about what happens in the finance world every day is insane, because thousands of things are moving around in micro and macroeconomics. So it's super important. Now, so you've done a CA, and then you ventured into investment banking. Now CA is not that everyone can do CA. It's very difficult. I failed in CPT only, so it was not even possible for me. But a lot of people can't do CA. So if I can't do a CA, do I go do an internship? Because internship also is a little difficult in finance world. Or what should I do? As you mentioned, there's a financial modeling course, and so is CFA good? There are other kind of degrees that people are asking in the comments, that what else can you do if you're not a CA to get into that?
Sure. So I think even as a CA, as I said, the first preference is in the audit and taxation space. So for me also, I think I got lucky. But if you are not per se an MBA from Tier 1 or something, and you really aspire to still get into the IB space, I think, definitely look out for good institutes who could help you understand the financial modeling space. That's very important. There are a lot of certifications through NIFC and BSE and institutions like that. Take as many certifications as possible, because that'll help you build your resume to kind of get through the first stage of you being shortlisted for an interview. So you have to make your CV strong on paper, and these courses will definitely help you. So there are a lot of certifications. I think my academic time was long back, like 7-8 years back, but I think now there are a lot more options, a lot more things that you can do online. I think shine more on what kind of certifications and things that you can do. But CFA is another thing. I have also done FRM. So FRM was a lot more on the financial side. There was nothing to do with tax audit and stuff like that. So there are a few courses on the risk side or financial markets, financial products that you can study. So FRM is by GARP. There is CFA also. If you could do it, also gives you a good start point to your career to all the finance related jobs, and IB being one of that. So definitely these finance courses will help you. So, if you want to keep it a little simple, then go for certifications, go for financial modeling, and so there are a lot of, so Excel plays a very strong role in your initial year. So Excel and PowerPoint presentation. So there are a lot of courses available on this side. There are Wall Street courses, etc. So get a hang of this, so basically, in the early stage of your IB, few skills that you definitely need is strong Excel, strong strong PowerPoint presentation skills, how to evaluate the entity, how to read simple things like how to read a balance sheet or audit reports. So yeah, these things, be very clear about how do you sail through those. And if CFP is another course, FRM, CFA, if you could manage to do that, nothing like it. So yeah, this could help in your initial years to kind of decorate your resume and give you a breakthrough at least to the interview levels. And post that, there's a lot more that you'll have to do in sense of how to evaluate the entity. We can get into those details.
I think what you mentioned is very important, that see, a lot of people have this fear that if I don't have an MBA or if I don't have a CA degree, I can't become an investment banker, which is not true. I keep telling people that it's not true.
No, that's not true for sure.
In the end, look, people want that knowledge that you have. And if you put in that effort and you get these different kind of certifications, courses, and learn about financial modeling and be aware of the market, in the end, you get placed because of the knowledge that you have, not because of the degree, because the degree is a piece of paper. You don't, that's not the value that you have here. So there is a lot of ways to upskill yourself to learn more about the finance world. And if you do that, you can eventually get a job as an IB. Obviously, it's not easy. The people think I can just graduate out of BCom and go into an IB role. Aisa nahi hota hai. You have to take time and work on your resume.
No, I have seen such exceptions as well. So you can just be a pure... very, very few, but yeah, there'll be something extraordinary things that you would have to place through. So I think, Shashank, if you remember, we had something called as elevator pitch in IB. Basically, elevator pitch is something very interesting. Say you have 10 minutes, or rather even forget 10 minutes. You have a couple of minutes and you want to, 3 minutes. So basically the name comes from that, elevator pitch. So suppose you are with someone who's an investor in an elevator. All you have is the time from ground floor to say 15th floor, and how do you sell that entity? So that's where the name comes from. So if you can, the ideal job, your job is to sell a company and have an elevator pitch. If you can't sell yourself or make yourself, the interviewer feel that you are the right person from the role, then you cannot do the IB role. So you need to be very good at yourself. Quickly identify, few key points of how you are capable for an IB role. That's very important, I think. So if you have to work on an elevator pitch for yourself, firstly, to begin with. So
I think identify is a big role, right? Because if you look at all the IB guys, you look at all of them, they're always brimming with confidence, somewhere bordering to overconfidence also for some reason. But they know themselves very well, and they have that confidence that you put them in any kind of situation, they will figure it out and go out, right? That confidence is there that I've noticed across a lot of IBs.
I think that is exactly why it's very important to be well read, and when you know what's happening around you, briefly know the regulations, you're reading your newspapers regularly, then you're very confident and you can always kind of contribute meaningfully to any conversation. So I think that's where you build your base strongly from your early age. And that'll help you eventually in the long run. You're not going to see any quick returns or quick benefits. Keep doing that. Be persistent at it. I think eventually, if you're very determined, very persistent, you definitely can do whatever you want. So.
And one more thing I noticed, right, in the early days when I just started working, right, and it was corporate advisory, sell side. So I realized over time that in that point of time, at least in 2016, that investment banking was a very glorified job. Right? I think it was because of all the movies that showed that, I'm an investment banker from London. So, everyone used to. So every time I used to go meet people on dates or, just meet people outside, and I used to tell them that I'm an investment banker, they all had this, oh, really? Wow, okay, that kind of a feeling. And I used to never understand because I knew that I'm just sitting and doing Excel sheets and PPTs on a daily basis. I'm like, why is he so excited? But for all the people who think that it is very glorified and it is mystified, and yes, it is true that it is slightly glorified, mystified. Investment bankers do make more money than, when you start off with the other things. But also, it is not that easy. Like people think it is very easy. It's just like another job. I remember we used to work almost 9 to 9, right? We used to work 12 hours sometimes, and on lucky days we used to leave a little early, and again come back again in the morning at 9 a.m. sharp. Or else our boss used to shout at us if we come late. And I used to try to come late every single time. So I used to get belted a lot. But you work 9 to 9 and you're on Excel sheets and presentations, and sometimes you just have to get up and go meet a client, and then you have to woo the client and then talk to them. So it is very difficult. It is not extremely easy that you guys think of, and it's a lot of numbers. So if you are interested in numbers and you love numbers, then IB is something that you would appreciate over time, right? If you're opposed by numbers or you don't understand numbers, it's not the right field for you guys, is what I would say. Right? What else do you think that, what is like the main core work of an investment banker apart from say Excel and PPT? What do you think?
I'll give my honest take on IB.
Yeah.
I feel if anyone is interested, I mean, if you're passionate and you're interested in this space, I think definitely you should give it a shot for at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
I think it teaches you a lot in your career, even if you change your career. So I was in IB on the equity side earlier. Now I'm on the debt side. It's not as hectic as the equity side. But those 3 years of hardcore IB on the equity side, it's really helping me. So I think it will be worth it. But yeah, as you rightly said, numbers, you should be in love with numbers. And yeah, you should be prepared to put in those 15 hours, 12 hours of work almost every day, because every other day there is an important meeting that your bosses are going to have and you're working on that pitch. And every third day there is a new pitch, there's a new meeting. So it's an ongoing thing. You have to forget your vacations and holidays for at least as long as you're doing the IB career.
Yeah,
So,
I think we were supposed to take our
be
laptop
prepared for these
on
things,
Sunday
and
also.
I will not want to demotivate people. So.
Yeah. No, it was tough because
I think we've taken our laptops on vacations and holidays.
Yeah, so I remember
the Goa trip, I think you took it.
I was in Goa with my friends, and on a Saturday or Sunday, I think my boss calls me and says, I want the presentation today. And in Goa, I've opened the laptop and I'm working, and that laptop was slow. Oh my God, yeah. No, but it's fun. If you like numbers, you won't cry about it. It was fun. Like, we never cried about it. It was really task intensive, but we used to always enjoy after that and relax. They were not only bad times, there were great times as well, right?
And trust me, with your early days into IB, even if you want to change your career later, I mean, do it as early as possible, because that grind will really help you in the long run. I think the amount of meetings and the exposure you kind of get in IB in your early days, you do not get it in any other career. So it's really helpful. And I think we were fortunate enough that our seniors took us to a lot of meetings and we got a lot of exposures on that side. So I look for those things. Even if you're not getting an opportunity, take that fight, go for meetings, meet people, understand things, and be good at your work, so that you also have the right push from your seniors. So.
Now, according to you, Niyati, if someone can't become an investment banker, say for example, okay, what do you think in our finance space? What is the next best thing if you can't become an investment banker? If someone's not cut out for that, what do you think is the next best thing that they can do?
Well, there are several roles in finance, and IB is just a part of it. Depending upon what your skills are, there are treasury roles. Treasury, again, very difficult to get at the entry level, but there are treasury roles that you can look at, enter as on the ops side in treasury. You can also do risk management with any NBFC or any financial institution. So risk is, again, if you don't like meeting clients, if you don't like sales, if you are sort of good at evaluating things and stuff, there are risk and op roles that you can do. So on the risk side that you can do that, then you can do research and analysis. You can take up a research. You really like. You like to research about entities and like your desk work more. You want to build your knowledge by yourself. Not very excited about doing meeting people, doing sales. So research role, equity research role is another role that you should take up if you're interested in this. That also has a very good scope. So this is one. Besides this, you can take up credit roles in any financial institution, be it as small as NBFC. There is a small finance bank. There are small finance banks. There are funds. There are foreign investors, investment firms where you can take up these roles. So credit, risk, research, risk roles. These are all the other, and treasury. I think these are the other kind of roles that you can consider if IB is not of your interest.
But everything requires you to love finances. I mean, you have to love numbers for you to do stupid. Except say the equity research, where you need to research more about a company and the fundamentals around it, right?
So I will say that IB has a lot more to do with financial models and stuff. love of numbers, where if finance as a stream interests you, then you should be fairly good with numbers. That is given. Otherwise, we have arts and other creative fields to do other things. So if finance is something that you are interested, then the whole gambit is this. So IB is just one part of it, but you can probably do treasury, risk, research, all of this, and yeah, numbers is fairly a part of it. So you have to be in love with it. But IB definitely more of financial modeling, valuations, and a lot more numbers and data crunching, I would say, in IB.
So I think someone asked, why were you guys looking at blockchain? So I'll tell you one funny story, right? So I think I was into Bitcoins and blockchains at that point of time. This was in 2016 when it was still new and it was growing, right? And Niyati used to sit right next to me, and she used to see me, all tabbing always and going on these, crypto websites and, coming back on my Excel sheet, going back on that. And she was like, what is this? I want to understand this. I want to learn this. And both of us were learning how the blockchain space was at that time, because that was hot at that given point of time. So for us, we were very interested in that industry, and we almost learned almost everything that was there in that industry in a matter of time. And I think we got yelled at once or twice by our bosses because we used to not discuss about work, and we used to discuss about crypto, and they could not understand crypto. So there was a lot of stuff there. But it was fun. It was fun. So
I never understood why didn't they understand. There was no rocket science, right? Like we had fun learning that.
It was a very short amount of time, but we understood it very quickly, right? Yeah. But it was fun. That's what I was saying, right? When you're there, when you have to look at different business models, you are not blocked off saying that because you're already looking at so many business models in a week, different kind of business models. So it's very easy for you to adopt a new business model, and you have that curiosity now ki ye kaisa chal raha hai, how is that working, how is this working, and stuff like that. And as Niyati said, if you get investment banking as a job early in your life, that initial grind that happens early in your life will help you a lot in the later stages of your life for two reasons, right? One, you already know how the grind is, and number two, it also looks very nice in your CV now that you are an ex-investment banker. So it helps a lot going forward, career-wise as well. But obviously, it's better to do it early in your life than do it much later in your life, because it is very intensive on your body as well. I mean, it is not for everyone. Unless you have that will to work and not cry too much, you should be very strong, both mentally and physically, to handle this. But it is fun.
Yeah. So I think let's just take up as in what is IB. I think there is so much of talk around, like, I want to do IB and this and that, but what exactly is IB, and do you really understand what exactly are you going to do? And yeah, people say there's a lot of Excel, there's a lot of PowerPoint, but what is happening? Like, why is everyone doing this? So typically, any IB role, an investment banker, what do they do actually? So the idea here is, you are like a matchmaker in an IB world. So what do you exactly do? So you are, I might just sound like a snob, but then I'll just be absolutely clear what it is. Hope that helps. So you are supposedly the smarter one who's going to connect the investor and the investee. So you have to be completely clear on what is there on the table. Once you know that this entity needs the fund, how are you going to sell this and take it to the right bunch of investors so that this entity gets the right value, or rather, so the investment banker can be two-side. Either you can be a sell-side investment banker, or you can be a buy-side investment banker. A typical sell-side investment banker is suppose say an entity ABC comes to you, says that I want to sell my entity, find the right buyer for my entity, and obviously what he's looking for is the maximum valuation for this entity. So now, as an iBanker, you have to be so strong at your analytic and sales skills that you should be able to sell this entity better than the promoter himself. So those are the kind of skills that you have to develop on a long run. So basically, go down, understand in detail about this entity that for which you've got the mandate, and basis your several connects of you and your team over the years, you will find the right fit for this investor. So this is a typical sell-side iBanker. Likewise, by now you would have understood what a buy-side banker is. So an investor comes to you saying that I want to acquire an entity in the textile space, and this is these are the specs of the kind of entity that I'm looking for, and basis your market knowledge and market intelligence, you go down to the market and kind of find the best suit for the investor. So this is the basic thing that an investment banker does. To achieve this, there goes a lot of number crunching. There's a beautiful PowerPoint pitch that you have to make so that interests the relevant parties to take through the transaction. Besides this, you also work very closely with the legal counselors, the due diligence teams, the documentation and finance teams. It's not just as rosy as it sounds. It doesn't end there. You also have to execute and close the transaction, which is also equally difficult. So you have to liaise with various entities like the lawyers, the finance people, the accounts people, and get the whole thing executed. So you have to be very good at people skill. So you have to understand the market, get the deal done, find the right bunch of investors, get the right valuation, and also deal with all these parties to kind of successfully conclude the transaction. Or else what will happen is you keep doing a lot of work, but there will be no result. So these are the skills over the time you have to develop. And rather, before you decide to go into an IB role, you should kind of be clear that these are the people skill is something that you naturally have. So yeah, it's important that you understand people, you understand their intent, try to develop those skills, the skills along with the analytical skills that you will need for this role.
Yeah, it's a mix of both. It's not just a desk job, it's a mix of both, right? You need to know how to interact with people and you need to be good at your math and numbers, right? So it's
Yes.
very exciting that way. So any questions,
Yes.
guys? We'll take up some questions from the community now. A lot of people might have some questions now. Niyati has given the day in the life of an investment banker. What are the important things you need to become an investment banker? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? And what are the different certifications you might need to actually become an investment banker? So any questions from you guys regarding this, about the investment banking, any doubts that you might have? So you can drop it here. I'll look at some of the old questions that have been given. Someone asked, can you share some certifications online for IB? I think Niyati has already explained most of the certifications. Anything related to financial modeling, anything related to different kind of finances, do that. Don't get into taxes and audit and stay away from that. But there are a lot of things online. You can just Google it and you will get all these answers online. Okay, so someone was like, how can an undergrad get an internship in the field of finance or investment banking, to be specific, because there's lack of internship opportunities in the field of finance. Any idea on that, Niyati?
Yes, I think fortunately now our markets are getting very deep and there are a lot of boutique IBs that we have. So in the early days, you would just have those top 5 IBs in the country, but now there are a lot of investment banks. Just look for boutique IBs and these are smaller teams and as an undergrad, after that, if you're looking for internship, it's a very good thing to start your career with these boutique IBs and create a base for yourself and then go to the main league IBs. So I think LinkedIn is a good tool to evaluate the IBs. Read newspapers. They always mention which IBs done the deals. There are a lot of boutique IBs in the BFSI space and the pharma space. You can reach out to some of us probably for the names of boutique IBs and start your career from those. Those will be more accepting to begin your career with if you think you are not getting into the main league IBs.
Yeah, I think in the start, before you even get your job, if you're trying to get an internship, right, don't look at brand name and brand face and all that. Exposure is more important than how much internship money you're going to get or what brand that boutique IB is, right? Nobody cares about that. People care about what knowledge and, what degree. I mean, people care about your knowledge more than anything else. So I think you should focus on just getting that opportunity, getting into some boutique IB and start working from there. Right? So that is very important.
And I think many a times a smaller IB would give you more exposure. In larger IBs, you end up doing a lot of pitch work and you are always on the other side. You rarely get to go for meetings. But I think the beauty of smaller firms are that at the early stage, they'll take you for meetings, give you the exposure. So I think it sometimes helps being with the smaller firms as well in the early age of your career.
So one question is, how has COVID affected IB sector? Has it affected it at all?
Well, I would say yes and no. IB sector, so currently, I mean, as we are coming out of COVID, there is a lot of demand for fundraise, a lot of entities are kind of building their balance sheet. They have to, there is a lot of equity transactions that you will see in the coming 3 to 6 months. So IB is active. So basically in a lull time and in a good time, you always have either M&A doing well or you have the fundraise doing well. So in difficult times, you will see a lot of fundraising happening with a lot of entities. So IB is one such sector. So again, IB, I'll step back. There are two kind of IBs. IB for capital markets, where you do IPOs and take private sector entities public. So those are capital market IB roles. So those generally, like you will be seeing for a very long time, for 6 to 7 months, there were not many IPOs happening, and there was definitely a lull. However, at times like this, the IB for corporate advisory roles, which typically deals with corporates and private corporates rather, and not typically doing the IPOs and QIPs, doing fundraise for the private sector entities. These are pretty active because a lot of entities would want to build up on their balance sheet, would want to make provisions and raise as much of equity as possible in the current time. So either ways, it depends on what side you are, but corporate advisory generally, the IB for the private entities, be it a good time or a bad time, you will always see business happening on the IB space.
And we're seeing a lot of IPOs coming out right now, right? And they're doing well.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they're not doing well. They're doing well. A lot of banks are going to start raising more funds through QIPs and different kind of methods. So you will see that a lot of people will do fundraising right now. And I think everything is getting back on track. I think the first 2 months was a bit of a lull because people didn't know what was happening. But I think now everything is coming back on track.
Correct. So I think what's happening currently is we are seeing a downward interest trend. What are you going to get if you invest in your FDs and those traditional debt instruments? You're not getting anything. People are not going out. There is a lot more savings happening. So the retail investor is not really sure of what you will do of that money. So, and also for a very long time, we did not have enough IPOs happening, and there are not many opportunities. Even mutual funds are not performing. So a decently good and well-placed entity going for an IPO, you will see the results are really good, and they are subscribing at very high multiples now. Correct. So yeah, I mean, this is a normal scenario after every recession. The way we get out of the recession, you will see these signs picking up, and people are sitting on a lot of liquidity and don't know what to do of that money. So I see good times ahead.
So unless we see Rishabh is like, does working in management consultancy firm help land an IB role, and does that experience help in the IB role somehow? Basically, management consultants and investment bankers.
Those are so I mean, depends on what your end goal is. Consultancy is also decent enough, but I mean, consultancy, you work on particular projects. Okay, how would I answer this? Okay, so consultancy, probably you work on a particular sector. It's more to do with, so if your end goal is to get into a private equity, I would say, then IB is a better role. So generally that's the graduation that you see. The end role is, I want to get into a private equity, which is technically impossible to get at the entry level. So IB is a good start thing. But if your ultimate goal is to get to IB, then you can start from consultancy. So consultancy, probably you will specialize in a particular sector. Things in consultancy side, you'll work will be like how to improve the costing of that, or rather the OPEX of the entity, give us the options. So that are the kind of goals or targets that you'll have. How do you best utilize the employee base of the entity? So these are the kind of things that you learn on consultancy side, whereas IB is a lot more on valuation and financial modeling and stuff. Consultancy may or may not be that. So it will be, the agenda is different. And if you are ultimately trying to bag a private equity role and you want to be on the buy side on the investment of the investments, then IB is something that you should take up. They're slightly, they're not so closely related, consultancy and IB roles. The agenda is different.
Yeah. So another person was asking, what should be the best approach to try to get an IB role, right? In the initial days, should I just go to LinkedIn and contact these people, or just to go to the website and contact people, or should I use personal connections, and does it work in the industry? Basically, that's the same question we all have when we come out and try to look for a job. Ki kidhar se milega kaam? So what did you do? Let's focus on that. Like, what did you do? Because I know what I did. What did you do?
what I did and what I even do now, if at all I plan to switch jobs in. So I think Indian market is very competitive and you have to do everything.
Yeah.
I will not lie, you have to do everything. It's not that easy to get the best role. So be clear firstly what you want and you have to work towards that and do not settle. If you're very specific on you want something, work towards it. And I'm sure, I mean, if you're very specific and you have those kind of targets for yourself, you will have to use your personal connects, you will have to reach out to people on LinkedIn, and you will also have to use likes of IIM and Naukri and whatever it is. So I'll be very candid. There will be a lot of effort that you'll have to put through. We all have done that, and do not shy away. There'll be rejections sometimes. Some people might not reply, and all of that will happen. But yeah, the competition is too much, and you have to put all the effort that you can. So
Yeah, and
use
FYI, guys,
everything.
Niyati is from Bombay, and the fintech world in Bombay or the finance world in Bombay is super cutthroat, right? And the competition there is to another level because the entire financial sector is so hyper over there, and everyone's a part of that financial sector. It is insane, right? So it it pays well to be the best at what you do and always strive for that excellence. So that you're at least at the top 5%, right? That, okay, if you know this person and this person is doing a good job, it pays to do that, right? So if you don't put in that extra effort, actually in any job, if you don't put in that extra effort to make yourself better, you will be stuck at one position and eventually you will be out as well. So yeah, in IB as well, it pays to have that knowledge. And most importantly, it pays to know what's happening in the market. I think in an IB, apart from having your fundamentals and basics right, the key important factor is to know what is happening in the market. And the people who know what's happening in the market are considered, more smarter and more whatever involved in the market. So you should have that knowledge of what is going on in the market as well.
I think one thing you need to be more worried about is so you will probably get a couple of opportunities, and when you get that opportunity, you'll just have one shot. So be prepared for that. When you get this opportunity, how do you seize that? That is more important, and that will not happen overnight. Like if you think that when you're going to get a call and that's when you will open the newspaper and try to build on your skills, that's not going to happen. So prepare for that one opportunity. Whenever you get it, that will be the only chance, and try to seize that. So I think focus on that.
Get your elevator pitch ready for yourself.
Yeah.
So get that for yourself. Okay, I think I won't take much of your time. I think I'll take one last question. Actually, there's one question that has been coming up a lot, same pattern. Basically, what they're saying is if we are not in the finance background, like I've not done a BCom or CA or CFA, maybe I've done engineering or arts or tech or coding or whatever, can I still become an investment banker is what people are asking. So,
well, yeah, so you will still have to have do the short-term course on valuation and certification, even if you are not from the finance world. And I think in this particular case, I think it will be better if you go through the consulting route, take up a consulting role on the tech side or whichever stream that you're coming from. So consulting happens in every sector. So you anyway know a lot of things. So IBM also has consulting. Every corporate also has its own consulting house. And there are, BCG and these guys are big names, but there are smaller consulting firms. So you can do consulting in every sector. So start through your consulting route because you already understand a particular, say, IT industry very well, and with the combination of couple of finance certifications that you've done, you will be a good match for consultancy and start from there and then move to IB. So I think for this category, this route will make more sense and probably a better opportunity as well.
Yeah. Engineers are, a lot of people hire engineers in consultancy roles because of their apparent analytical and qualitative and quantitative skills that they have extra compared to anyone else.
Yes.
So they get hired in consultancy, and from consultancy, you can definitely eventually move into, IB only if you keep developing your financial skills. Because in management consulting, one thing is clear that you already know what's happening in the market because you're tracking a particular sector. So you become an expert in that sector. And you are also getting exposed to finances like operation margins, how to work on finances, right? You don't deep dive into it the way you would deep dive as an investment banker into valuations and DCF model and stuff. You don't deep dive into it, but that's also fine. That's a small skill to pick up if you're already doing something like an management, because that's also quite hectic. That's not that simple. If you're in big firms, it is quite hectic. Okay, I think that's enough. I won't take much of your time. I know you have another engagement at 6. So any last words or imparting knowledge that you have after your, so many years of experience that you want to give all these youngsters who are still in college or just out of college in their first job? What would you tell them if someone wants to become an investment banker?
You make me feel old, yeah.
We're all old. Young by heart, but old with experience. When it comes to experience, we're all old, okay? Because you have to show off.
No.
But when we're enjoying, we party a lot. So please don't think.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what I would say is focus on yourself, build your interpersonal skill, read a newspaper, keep a track of macro events that are happening, US elections, India elections, how they're going to impact different geographies, global politics. Like start at that macro level. This is how you will slowly build interest in economics and finance. So that's very important. So start from that as early as possible and slowly develop that. Keep a touch with reading. There are a lot of nice books that you can always pick up and read in the finance stream. So that will help you on the long run. Keep developing your basic skills like Excel, PowerPoint, etc. Because there you don't need any certification or stuff. That can just happen side by whatever you're studying or whatever you're doing. So build on these skills as well, the IT skills. Besides that, if you're really keen on IB, then yeah, look up for some good courses on valuation certifications along with your studies. And I would also say that as early as, say from 18, 19, 20, this young age, start building your LinkedIn profile, connect with good people, make a very strong base so that you want to, when you are ready and when you want to reach out to people, that's not when you're going and looking out for people. So connect with a good bunch of people and start as early as you can, building on your LinkedIn profile and having good connects around. It's always good to write to them, just meet them over a coffee, understand what's happening, and whatever sector and space you're interested into, track all the deals, read as much as possible. I think those are the basic skills. Besides this, you have to build your resume, and I think we've spoken enough on that. So yeah, I think these are things. Don't forget to enjoy. You guys are young, so that is also very important, and that's how you learn a lot of things. So go out there, meet people, talk, and talk to people, understand about various sectors, and also build your resume along with that. So I think, yeah, that's what I would summarize it to.
So guys, it is safe to say that Niyati has dropped a lot of value bombs today. She's given mad insight into the world of finance, not only investment banking, but also into the world of finance. And for all the people who are looking into getting into finance and stuff like that, I think Niyati has given you a lot of clarity on what are the different opportunities that are there. And if you look at the baseline, she's mentioned a lot of things that are very important, which is, getting your knowledge right, building your LinkedIn profile, getting out there and talking to people and stuff like that, which is same across, right? Irrespective of what talent you do. So I would like all of you to thank Niyati. Niyati, thanks a lot for giving your time.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this
session. A lot of value bombs, and I'm pretty sure everyone enjoyed because I saw so many questions coming in. So awesome. Thank you, Niyati, for giving your time.
Glad this was helpful.
Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had fun.
Yes, it was really nice. Good interacting with everyone.